The new financial year is here, and it's always a great time to stop and reflect on how far you've come over the last financial year, but also what it is that you want to achieve over the next financial year. Now, most people in New Zealand, they'll set goals and resolutions from the 1st of January. Business owners get a little bit of a unique opportunity to think about this again come the 1st of April. Now, if you think about the ordinary Kiwi person outside of business, and no shade on them, but probably by the end of January, their goals have faded, the actions that they need to take have faded, they seem a lot harder. There's been a number of public holidays that they've had in January and are about to have coming up as well. Well, anyway, it's very easy to start getting through the year and without realizing that it is disappearing on you. So then when we get to about this time of the year for everyday people outside of business, they are going into winter. It's getting darker in the morning, and a business owner recently actually said to me, oh yeah, we don't focus our efforts on New Zealand during winter. We aim for our marketing and growing market share in Australia because Kiwis just don't do shit during the colder months and during the winter. And it's quite interesting because if you think about the property market as well, that's exactly what happens. Everybody's gung-ho about property during summer, and then it comes to winter and the narrative is basically like, oh, don't do anything in the winter because you'll get a better price in the summer, so everybody waits. And then as summer starts to get here and the nicer months, then people start to take more action. And it's, it might be different in your industry, but going back and having a look at some of the data in our business, it's interesting to see some of the inquiry and action can drop off around April, May, June, and even July, and then it start to slowly pick up in the back half of the year. Now, you're a business owner, and from the 1st of April, most of you, your financial year will set or reset. And that means it crystallizes your profitability for that last financial year and therefore the tax you have to pay and all those sorts of things. You need to have your accounts done. But what I want you to do at this stage is not worry too much about the tax side of things and what you need to be thinking about. I want you to do three things. So I want you to go back into your phone camera roll, and I want you to have a look at what your images were in your phone on the 31st of March or the 1st of April 2024, because I want you to reflect on how far you've actually come. Now, often when Phil and I talk with business owners, we'll talk about risks that they have in a financial year, opportunities, and what we need to be cutting back on or increasing. And often when we talk with them 12 months later, they really struggle to remember what they identified as those risks, what those opportunities were. And that's part of putting it down on paper and actually building out a plan. So actually go back and have a look at your camera roll from a year ago and see, well, what were you doing? Where were you? And you'll then be like, oh yeah, wow, okay, that's what I was thinking about. Okay, yeah, and you'll realize that you've actually probably come a lot further than what you think you may have. Now, the next thing I want you to do is jump into your inbox of all places and go and have a look at what emails you were sending around on the 31st of March last year. Or maybe you've got a way to track, what leads you might have been going after or what it was that you were trying to put together in terms of a project, and have a look and see what comes up in there. Again, another way to reflect. And then the last thing that I want you to do is go back to your calendar. Now, have a look at what you were doing in the last week of last financial year and then in the first week of the new financial year. And again, you might see that you'd completely forgotten about some of the things that have been really important over that financial year. And I had a client reach out yesterday who did this exercise and basically say that they were in the midst of, do they hire this person or not? And it's been one of the best things that they've done, and they've got a unicorn, and it's basically inspired them to want to find another one of those, and they've had a great financial year. But all too often we can really forget what it is that we have been doing in business and actually how far we've come. So the idea is to stop and actually reflect, and if you've had some wins, celebrate those wins. I've had a number of clients that I've been talking with that are actually, they've paid off a student loan, they've had their best financial year, they've outgrown GDP, they've been able to hire, they've made tough decisions, all sorts of things. And we often say at Next Advisory, make sure you celebrate that, because it's so easy just to then open up your inbox and then the next thing is coming at you in business, or have a weekend where then you're back into it on Monday and then there's something happens or a supplier can't deliver, whatever, and you just forget about the good things that you are doing. So make sure you celebrate those wins. Now, then the next part of this is obviously to start thinking about what is it that you want to achieve over the next financial year, and a few really simple questions to ask yourself and actually spend some time thinking about this. What is the biggest risk that you face over the next 12 months, and what can you do to eliminate that within the next 12 months? That gives you a longer window than just simply worrying about something that may happen. So identify what that biggest risk is that you could have, and then identify what it is that you're going to do about it as well. Now, on the other side of that, what's the biggest opportunity that you have over the next 12 months? And what are you going to do to ensure that you can capitalize on that opportunity? So hopefully you can identify what that is. So we've looked at a risk and an opportunity. And then the third thing is, what are you really good at, or what is your business really good at that you need to have really lent in on and taken advantage of over the next 12 months? So have a think about your strengths and maybe your unique offering in the market, what you're doing that other people aren't doing, and think, okay, we're pretty good at that. The market tells us that we are, but we're not really doubling down on it and we're not really squeezing it for what it could be. So a risk, an opportunity, and also a key strength to maximize and lean in on. Now, if you individually don't know your own strengths, a bit of a tangent, but maybe look at the Gallup, Gallup Strength Finder, and have a look and understand what your own strengths are. But you should know what your strengths of your organization are too, and how you're going to lean on that where your competitors may not. And it could just be communication. It could be over communication. It could be doing things a little bit differently. It could be you've built amazing community and you're going to bring them all closer together. Whatever it is, make sure that you double down on that and lean into it, because I'd imagine that this 2026 financial year is going to be much the same as the 2025 financial year. I think in the back end of the calendar 2025, there'll be a bit more confidence coming in. But if we look right now at the time of recording this, everybody's freaking out around tariffs and what it's going to mean for global trade and all these sorts of things. So we can get lost thinking about that stuff, but a lot of it can often not really impact our business, or we forget that it was a big talking point at one stage. But we want to be deliberate and not just listen to the media and what they're saying the global risks are and the big risks are. Have a think about what the risks are in your business, what the opportunities are, what the strengths are as well, and lean into those, because most people will just get distracted by the noise of life, much like a lot of people already are come April, where they're not thinking about their goals anymore and they're just going about life. So this is a great time to reset and to reflect and to really set some goals that you want to go after. And those goals are going to give you direction, and then you just need to figure out and work backwards how are you going to achieve those. Now, finally, if you don't know how you're going to achieve those goals, well, maybe do inversion thinking and think about how you could fail at it. So if you have a specific goal, then write down every way that you could ensure that you don't achieve it, and list it all down. And you've basically now, because your brain is very good at identifying the negative and what can't happen and what doesn't work, and you probably all have people like that in your life, and you try and train yourself not to be like that. But if you can identify all of those things, then you've basically given yourself a roadmap of the things not to be doing. So that could be another exercise that you'll find incredibly helpful as well. All right, good luck and bring on the 2026 financial year.